Hello, everybody. I'm Pontius, and welcome back to Unexpected Awesome. When it comes to the action genre, there's very few subsections of it, in my mind, that capture the richness, the style, and the mythic possibility of quite like the Swashbuckler. Having enjoyed its golden age in the 1930s through the 1950s, it encountered a revival and renaissance in the 1990s and the 2000s through the varying successes of popular adaptations of pulp heroes, theme park rides, and in the topic of today's discussion, French literature. Out of all the characters of action and adventure fiction, very few are quite as immortal as the three Musketeers. D'Artagnan, Aramis, Athos, and Porthos cut a chivalrous, if not raucous, picture of heroism, fraternity, and honor in the Wild West period of mainline continental Europe, that being the pike and shot era. And the Musketeers themselves, whether it be in their literary incarnations or the various on-screen ones, always stand as a picture of wit, martial prowess, and gentility. However, very few movies quite capture this as concisely and as lean a fashion, quite like Peter Hyams' 2002 action-adventure swashbuckling adventure of the Musketeer. Following the primary character of the novel, though not the title character of the novel of D'Artagnan, as he goes on a quest for revenge to hunt down the murderous mercenary that killed his father and woo the heart of Lady Fair, redeem the honor of the king's disgraced personal guard of musketeers, and of course, avert all-out war on the European continent. It's an incredible film, if not a might standard in its approach to almost every aspect of its story and presentation. If there's any accurate and deserved criticisms to be levied at the Musketeer, they are few if not potent. The biggest one easily being the script itself. The story overall is far less refined in comparison to Dumas' classic novel, as well as the various other more faithful adaptations of the story. This manifests in several pivotal ways throughout the story, whether it be Planchet's more avuncular relationship to D'Artagnan, the death of D'Artagnan's parents at the beginning of the film to give him a much more standard character journey throughout the story, all the way to the fact that the Musketeers themselves are a disgraced army of current outlaws rather than still in the king's service at the beginning of the story. It removes many of the political intrigues that drove the conflict of the novel into more of a backroom courtier politics rather than outright swashbuckling. It's also worth noting that while the acting overall is of a very high quality, especially from its supporting cast, does suffer some weaknesses, such as the utter lack of the convincing nature of the performance of the leading lady of being a French peasant. However, despite all of that, many of those performances, including the aforementioned Mina Suvaris and Justin Chambers as D'Artagnan, are still solid and enjoyable performances overall, and all of that amplify and sell the strongest aspects of the film, which are its production value and fight choreography. The production value especially is sumptuous, gorgeous, and incredibly stylishly shot. Never has varying shades of brown, white, blonde, and tan ever looked so rich and colorful. The world of 17th century France is simultaneously rough-necked while also being foppishly tailored, whether it be the half-capes the gentlemen wear, all the way to the rustic barns, cabins, and stone walkways of cities of Paris and the various villages and hamlets on its outskirts. And all of this is presented absolutely beautifully by some of the best direction and cinematography I've ever seen. And this is absolutely fitting considering the fact that the director himself's primary background is in cinematography, and this is an absolute boon to the film, considering the fact it has some of the finest fight choreography I've ever seen. To put this into context, the poster and the trailers for this movie emphasize who does the fight choreography over who the primary actor is playing the title character. It has easily some of the most amazing fight scenes I've ever seen, which is perfectly driven by an incredibly vicious and sneering villain Febra played to haughty and insolent perfection by heel extraordinaire Tim Roth, castle sieges in a thunderstorm, acrobatic duels of honor against whole mobs of mercenaries and sellswords inside of pubs, all the way to horseback chases of carriages that feel like a siege of their own. All of this is capped off by one of the finest sword fights ever seen that starts in a tower chamber, slides across a bridge in a thunderstorm, and ends with backflips in a 4-story tall wine cellar. If you love the action genre and you love sword fighting and swashbuckling, well, it may behoove you to give Peter Hyams the Musketeer a gander. Stay golden.